Hey, so this is a different video than my usual content on this channel. And no, I am going to be lazy about it. I am not going to be doing clips and everything else. I just want to have a short discussion. And it's something that's been on my mind for a few days now. I want to talk about woke. Now, I've done a video before where I've talked about it more deeply, but this is relevant to a lot of stuff that's going on, especially, believe it or not, since Matt Walsh did his Am I Racist movie premiere. A lot of the woke icons collapsed and crashed and burned and went into hiding because of the exposure, negative exposure they got in that movie, I guess. I don't want to call it a documentary because there's too much fakeness there to call it a documentary. Maybe a mockumentary, but regardless. I think, and this is very real, I think the problem with woke, and mind you, I play video games. I read comic books. I am the audience that woke is attacking. I read fantasy. I read sci-fi. The problem with woke is the same problem with Christian movies. The problem is not having a gay character or having people of color or having a story focused on non-white experience. There are great movies from countries that are not Anglo-Saxon. Okay. None of these are the problems. The biggest audience reaction from a non-woke audience was Wesley Snipes walking in Deadpool. Anyone watching my stuff, put the clip now. Okay. So I'm not being cute. I'm not being silly. Some of the best movies that straight men like are lesbian movies. And some of the best characters that people like are Mary Sue characters or girl bosses. There are ways to do it. And then there are ways not to do it. Like if you look at Transformers Prime is a good example. Transformers 1, I'm sorry, is a good example. They did Alita dirty because they've been trying to make Optimus Prime not so perfect and not so Boy Scout and not so John Wayne. And I think that's a mistake. Optimus Prime has to be egotistical when he's Orion Pax. He has to be more like Hot Rod. And then he has to be a leader. He has to have the experience of being betrayed, of having his, and I like the original cartoon version of the story better, the G1 story, where he looks up to Megatron, where Megatron's already kind of a celebrity. And then he gets betrayed by that. You know, to have that awakening, that the scale fall from his eyes, as it were, is important. And to have the story work is important. And to have Alita 1 or Alita, before she becomes Alita 1, denigrate Optimus Prime doesn't work. But the writing was so good that one line that doesn't sit well didn't ruin anything. In fact, I liked the character of Alita 1. I wanted her to be more, to have more story development in the movie. And the fact that they kept her stuck in Girl Boss hurt her character development. And that's the problem with wokeism, is when it hurts the story. So it's not having, if you want to go with Yasuke, it's not having a black character in Japan that's the problem. Yeah, it could be a really interesting story, but look at all the wokeisms they threw into it. And then it distracted from a story that we don't even know if it's good or bad yet. It could be a great game. It could be a terrible game. But the red flags are there. People are like, oh, it's going to be another one of these terrible games where they're promoting the stuff that's not important to the story and they're not talking about the gameplay. So therefore, the game must be bad. So people are jumping to the conclusion, there's a chance the game could be great. We don't know. We don't know until it comes out. But, I love the TV show Miss Marvel. The movie, The Marvels, sucked. It was terrible. I love The Lost Girl. But you look at some of the less successful movies that have come out where they're trying to present all this tokenism as if it's character development. It doesn't work. Rey is a terrible character. She's not interesting. But if she would have had her arrogance turned against her and she would have had to have lost, then that becomes interesting to see her work her way back up. But by having her be invincible all the way through, it's not interesting. If you go back as an adult and watch the original Star Wars, Luke is not a good character. He's not interesting. There's nothing happening. He's not interesting. He is himself a Mary Sue. So yes, wokeism is a problem. But wokeism is only a problem when it's attached to bad writing or bad IP, or it's reworking a character that had nothing to do with any of those agendas. But you can have great stories that are LGBTQ focused, that are lesbian focused, that are whatever focused. And this is the same thing that happens with Christian movies. You look at something like The Chosen, it's amazing. You look at, there's like 2 or 3 really good religious movies. And then you have stuff like Left Behind. Then you have stuff like, these trash movies where the Deus Ex Machina, the Deo Ex Machina, whatever you want to call it, where the God saves is the whole point of the story. It's the God Not Dead or the God's Not Dead movies. These are terribly acted. You just like, here's a Christian movie. You hear who the production team is. You hear who the actors are involved. You already know it's going to be a bad movie. It's Lifetime. Lifetime movies, they're going to be bad. The acting is going to be bad. The storyline is going to be bad. The antagonist is going to be the male. The main hero is going to be the female. Like, you already know all this stuff before you ever get to the movie. And some people like trash. There's plenty of trashy stuff I like, but I don't want trash all the time. I don't want junk food all the time. I sometimes want a really great story. I sometimes want an Oppenheimer. I sometimes want a Matrix. I sometimes want, and if you think about Matrix, that's a super woke movie, but it was well done. Then you get to the second and third movie and it's not well done, but the first one was amazing. And that's what happens with this wokeism stuff. And that's what happens with Christian movies. And that's what happens with Lifetime movies. It's audience capture for an audience that isn't there. What do I mean by that? You're working with such a niche audience, with such a small audience that likes this kind of stuff. I loved, back in the day, I loved a show called Harsh Realm. And I loved another show called Brimstone. And these shows were amazing, great acting, great story, great everything. No one watched them. It had an audience of one, and that was me. And I was not enough to keep the show alive. These types of niche audiences don't have broad appeal because you're aiming at a very small box. And the whole point of Hollywood, the whole point of entertainment, the whole point in comics and movies is to make money. And you can't make money selling to an audience of one, not if you're employing thousands of people. So I think it's the same problem here. It's low quality, bad acting, bad writing. And when you put all that together, it doesn't matter that you're aiming at this audience, because people will watch stories about, the gay community or the lesbian community or the trans community. People will watch stuff about witches. People will watch stuff about robots fighting. They will watch stuff if it's good. But if the marketing's terrible and the marketing sends out red flags that it's going to be terrible, look at my example of Transformers 1. The marketing was terrible. It doesn't matter that everyone that's seen it is saying it's a great movie. The marketing killed it, made it impossible for it to make money at the box office. And that's what's happening. That's the problem with woke. Woke doesn't just mean, opening up your eyes to the racism and sexism of the world. And it doesn't just mean what it's turned into, which is, giving opportunities to marginalized communities that are not usually able to express themselves. No, the problem is that once you see the wokeism, once you see the Christianese, once you see the Lifetime television, made for TV tropes, you know what you're getting. And if you're not into it, you don't want to watch it. So even if it's something of higher quality, you won't go see it. But that doesn't mean that just because it's a feminine focused movie that it won't succeed. Look at Barbie. Just because it's a female focused hero that it won't do well. Look at Alien. Look at the Terminator franchise. Look at any of these like really well done feminine heroes. So it can be done well, but you have to have a lot of things to make something work great. And there's a certain like magic to it. And if you alienate your audience, if you attack your audience, no one's going to want to go see it. And it's happening with video games. It's happening with movies. That's the problem with woke. It's the same problem with Christian movies. And it's the same problem with Lifetime movies. The general audience, the wider audience doesn't want to see it. And they don't want to see it because every time they've taken a sample of it, it's been terrible. It's been badly written, badly acted. The characters have not been developed. There's no conflict. There's no twist. There's no surprise. There's no entertainment. And nobody wants to be preached to for several hours when they're just trying to get some general escapism. Yeah, a little bit of message is good. In fact, some challenge is great. A challenging movie is fun for most people. But every once in a while, you want to just see an action flick. So there are really bad video games like Concord. There's really bad video games like Starfield. And yes, you can easily go like, well, look at all the list of all the wokeness there. But it doesn't have to be the wokeness. Look at a great game like Cyberpunk 2077. What's more woke than that? Look at a great game like Baldur's Gate 3. What's more woke than that? People love it because it has great writing and great acting. They love it so much that even after the initial launch of Cyberpunk was terrible, people came back to it when it got good. So if you up the quality and put in some basic fundamentals in the writing, you can turn wokeism into something profitable, but not what you've been doing, which is degrading legacy characters. That doesn't work. It doesn't work in the comic books. That's why I stopped reading comics. It doesn't work in video games. That's why for a while there, I took a break from video games. And it doesn't work in movies. That's why for a while there, I stopped watching movies. I love that Transformers 1 came out. I loved just like 4 movies I've watched in a row now that were great at the theater. I just want a good movie. I want to be entertained. I want to have fun. So give me Aliens Romulus. Give me Oppenheimer. Give me Iron Claw. Don't give me the Marvels. Don't give me terrible stuff like that. Give me some fan service. Give me Wolverine and Deadpool. Give me something that's fun. Wolverine and Deadpool, I mean, the main character is a bi character. Like, how can you think that just because they're not doing the wokeness up front doesn't mean it's not there? It's just when it's there, it's a flavor, it's a spice. It's, ooh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, I can relate to this character. Oh, that I can relate to that. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's interesting. Not, we're going to hit you over the head. No, have it be fun. And it's the same thing with the Christian movies. You look at a movie like The Passion of the Christ, look at a TV show like The Chosen. You look at, some of these better done Christian movies and better done Christian series. There's nuance there. There's struggle there. There's spectacle there. There's entertainment there. But then you look at some of the terrible, terrible religious movies that comes out of Angel and some of the other stuff like that, and they're boring. You don't want to watch them. So all that is to say, I think Christian movies and woke movies have the exact same problem. And that's why they'll never be profitable as a whole. As long as the acting's bad, the writing's bad, the character development is bad, you're not going to get a larger audience to enjoy it. That's my piece. All right. I hope you guys liked this video. I know this was different than our usual topic. We'll go back to our usual stuff next time. Please like, please subscribe. I will be trying to do more interesting, nuanced stuff because, quite frankly, I can't talk philosophy and religion all the time. Sometimes I have to talk about something else. Thank you all. I know there's no clips. I know it's a lazy video. If you enjoy this video and you like this video and people actually watch this, then the next time I do something like this, I'll try to get some clips and I'll try to get some editing done for the video. Thank you all and good night.